It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It is the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name's Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello, all.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Quite
Good.
well.
Yeah.
Groovy.
Well, welcome to October, the final quarter of 2024.
Yay.
Don't want everybody get excited, but I hope everybody out there is doing okay. So what's been going on in your corner of the galaxy?
As my dog starts choking, you like that?
Good timing.
That's what's been going on in my galaxy. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I've pretty much been doing the same thing that I did last week. I've been playing with color and watching stupid YouTube stuff. I can't even say anything interesting, you know.
You say that like there's smart YouTube stuff to compare it to or something. Come on.
Well, normally you can catch something and fall down a good rabbit hole, you know. But here lately, it's just been a bunch of wedding dress drama and, yeah. People are crazy. Hang on, what is...
You gotta kind of break your algorithm thing or something. Reset it somehow.
I'm telling you. I think the baby gets more interesting stuff on my tablet than I get.
Usually, yeah.
Well, and there hasn't been a lot of good true crime stuff either that I've really been interested in. I did watch one. They just sentenced I think she's 15 now.
Yeah.
That at 14, her friends, her mom was a teacher at school, and her friends went to her mom and was like, hey, your daughter is, you know, we love her, but she's into drugs, and she's starting to hang out with some really bad people and stuff, and we're kind of concerned about her. So, end of the day, mom takes the kid home from school, and she walks directly into the house, and she goes to the kid's room, and she pulls out like 4 different boxes, which they said had like vape pens and stuff in it. And shows the daughter. She lets the dogs in. She goes to her mom's room. She gets the gun because the mom goes back to the daughter's room, I guess, to make sure there's nothing else, you know. And she shoots her mom. Takes her mom's phone and then texts her mom or her stepdad from her mom's phone, was like, hey, honey, when you getting home? So he gets home and she tries to kill him too, you know. The stepdad, no, I have to give the man a lot of props because for one, he is a stepdad. This is not his child, you know. I mean, it is, but it's not his blood child, you know. He sat on her side and even testified in her defense. Man, little girl just killed your wife, her mother, you know, and part of the prosecution was like, you know, it was horrible what she did, but, you know, don't find her guilty because the family, you know, it's only going to hurt the family more. And I mean, just total guilt trip on the jury and everything else. And of course the jury found her, you know, guilty, first degree murder, which it was, you know, completely contemplated, you know, just insane. She had no remorse, though. I don't know. It's kind of when you watch her when they were talking about her mom being dead and everything else, no emotion. But when they talk about her going to jail and what's going to happen to her, oh, then she's crying and boo-hoo and, So it's like I don't think she learned her lesson. I don't think she learned her lesson at all. I think part of that is she's a child. She made an adult choice, which have adult consequences, and I'm not saying she shouldn't have those consequences because, oh, buddy, yeah, she should, but she's not at that point yet. I think once she gets around to 18, 19, sitting in jail and everything else, it'll finally dawn on her. I killed my mom over a vape pen, That's insane. And they said that she was also into like coke and stuff, but I don't the mom didn't find that. If she did do it, it wasn't in the house. So I think she was just a pothead and but if I was her friends, I would feel horrible, absolutely horrible. They were trying to help her and instead they got her mom killed,
Well, I think they probably have a right to be a little freaked out because
Mm-hmm.
clearly their friend snapped too.
Big time.
I mean,
Yep.
they could have done it on any of them.
Well, and it was sad because to hear them talk about the mom, she was a good teacher. She's one of those that we don't have very many of. She was friends with the kids. She, the kids did well in her class and everything else. She knew everybody. Everybody knew her. Kids came and visited her even when they didn't have her class, so she was like one of them teachers. So it was really sad that, that she died that way. And then the dad, I don't know if she tried to shoot. I think she did try to shoot him, but I don't know if she shot him or not. They never were real clear on that because they said attempted, but I don't know if it was attempted because she texted him to get him back to the house so she could, or if she actually fired on him. So, yeah, that was kind of like, wow, that's crazy.
That's pretty far gone.
Yeah.
Was that considered premeditated?
I think they did call it premeditated because when you watch the videos, she went to the mom's room and got the gun and then came back into the kitchen where the camera was and like let the dogs in and stuff. So she had a minute to stop and think. They were trying to get her on insanity, that she didn't know what she was doing, but she did too many things that let you know that she knew right from wrong and she knew what she was doing was wrong, Anytime she's like anywhere near the camera, like the gun, you never see the gun. She keeps it held behind her back the whole time, away from the camera. So she knew the camera was there and she didn't want the camera to see the gun. Why? Because it was wrong, So that kind of, the video just kind of blew her whole insanity thing because she thought about it, because then even after she shot her mom the first time, she went and got her mom's phone and definitely premeditated the stepdad, by getting him back to the house and everything. And then she went back into the room and shot her mom again. So I can't even say that she was so upset because she was taking her stuff and shot her and then was like, oh my God, what did I do? Because she went back into the room. So she knew right from wrong. And like I said, she is a child, but I mean, even Leanne at 5 can tell you can't kill somebody because you don't like what they do. You can't do that. It's wrong. So, but yeah, there's just a lot of kids in the news right now, and not as victims, but as perpetrators, And then there was one town, I don't know who, I forget where it was at, but we've had a problem with our kids calling in fake gun threats to schools, And of course, you call in a gun threat or a bomb threat, especially in the environment today, it shuts a school down. There's no maybe it won't happen. It shuts the school down. So for like 2 weeks there, several schools, even several here in our local area, was shut down because of fake threats. Well, one town caught the kid who made the fake threat, and normally they won't tell you their name or what they look like because they're minors. No, they're like blasting this kid everywhere. He did it. This was the guy. His name's, I don't know his name, but it's like, this is the kid who's doing this. And the cop was like, no longer will they have that anonymity any longer, because that's why they're doing it. He's like, nah, not anymore. We're going to blast them, and we're going to let everybody know this is who's doing this, Yeah. And I'm all for it. I think if you're going to play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes.
Wow.
I think if you violate the rights of everyone else, you should have no rights. And when you call and strike fear into a school of thousands of kids, you don't deserve to be anonymous. You shouldn't be protected because you're a juvenile.
Right. There needs to be consequences for that, and honestly,
Yep.
that they should probably be public.
Yep, name and shame. He won't do that again. That's for sure. Although I do have to say, the kid who they caught, there were guns in the home. I'll give him that. But he had like Thor's hammer and a plastic samurai sword, and he was telling these kids what an arsenal he had and stuff, and it's like, oh my God. He had little G.I. Joe knives and swords, and was like, oh yeah, I can take you down with my little olive sword here. I mean, it's not funny, but it's funny. But it was definitely a case of the kid was blowing a bunch of smoke. Look at me, I'm so cool and edgy. And they were like, nah, he's playing with G.I. Joe, And he wasn't even cool enough to be in his mom's basement. So, but yeah, I hope with this kind of attitude now, it stops these little fuckers from doing things like that. You can't shut a whole school down because you don't want to be there,
Right, nobody wants to be there.
If it's test day.
Yeah. But there's too many other kids who do want to be there, And not only that, how scary is that? It's not like it doesn't happen,
Right. No, I agree. There need to be consequences.
Yep.
For sure. Big and
loud.
And
of course, yep. Parade them. This is who it was, Well, and not only that, if this kid is unstable and he plans on doing something like that in the future, it's not just the cops now who know who he is. His fellow classmates can keep an eye on him because, that's their life. They have a right to know who threatened it, That's actually a constitutional right. You have every right to face your accuser, and you should know who wants you dead, And see, and that's another thing that fried this kid is because he did have a list of names. So, kid was definitely psycho. I don't know if he would have shot his school up or not, but nowadays you can't take those chances.
Right. You can't you have to take it seriously.
Yep.
I get an email from my kid's school at the beginning of the school year every year saying, we take every threat seriously.
Yep. Well, and they also encourage kids, if you see something, say something. And I think that's how the last couple of these kids have been stopped or, who knows, maybe something would have happened with the kids that they reported. And I know it's not cool to snitch on your friends and everything else, but someone who is willing to hurt you or kill you is not your friend. They
Right.
don't deserve that respect,
Yep.
I'd rather be a narc than dead,
Yep. And
But
it sucks that we have to put that on them
yeah,
to make
it,
that
it, it
decision.
is.
It really sucks, but I mean,
Yep.
what the hell else are you going to do?
hmm But it's good they have that right,
Hmm.
Because a lot of these kids, they were stopped and then put right back into the same hallways with kids who didn't know what they did,
Yep.
That's fucked up. You should be able to know.
And possibly even a few kids who do know what they did,
hmm
and they're back,
Yeah,
and nothing has changed.
that would be scary too.
Hmm.
Because now what's going to happen to me? Because I told,
Right. When's he going to come after me?
Yeah. And see, and that's the thing. I think if you make terroristic threats to your schoolmates, you should not be back allowed in school. We have juvenile schools for that,
Mhm.
You shouldn't. And it's kind of like with prison for kids,
It is
If you
prison for
can't
kids.
function in society with everybody else who can do the right thing, then you don't deserve to be there with them. That's not a basic need, we can educate you other ways, but that's a luxury, being able to go to a public school that the community is paying for.
Yeah, but that's where you get into the interesting debate between what really is a luxury and what really is a right. And
Yep.
there,
Well,
that
everybody
gets,
has a right to education. Everybody. I think we worked long and hard for that, But if you don't take that right seriously, you don't deserve to have that right. And is that not what we do to criminals? If you can't function in society, we take some of your rights away. If you're a felon, you can no longer own a gun. That's a right, but you've proven you can't be,
can't be a
normal
productive
in
member of
society.
society with that
Yeah.
right. Yep.
Yep. So, and I see that no different with kids. If you can't protect your rights, you don't deserve to have those, no matter how old you are, that sounds wrong. I'm not trying to punish kids or, I'm just saying for people who do these kind of things, they don't deserve rights. And these are the people that if we didn't catch them while they're in high school, they would definitely, hell, it's not even high school anymore. It's middle school, elementary school, and crazy world.
Long gone to the days when school was just school.
Yep. Where you'd go and check your messages before you left again. That's what I did. I didn't want to be there. I wasn't going to shoot my classmates up. I was just going to leave,
Right.
Bunch of dumbasses. I don't want to be here, then leave. Go sit a Jack in a Box till your mom picks you up.
There are consequences for that too, unfortunately.
Yeah, there is. I think mine was night school. I hated that too. And see, and that's the thing. School sucked when I was in school, so I can imagine how bad it is now,
Right, it can't have gotten better, right?
It can't. It was getting worse while we were there, Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I suspect that there were people who were there that actually wanted to be there, but damn if I was one of them.
yeah, I did not want to be there. And not that I was like smart or anything else, but if they were teaching me something that I needed to learn, maybe I would have liked it better, but a lot of it was just like, really?
Well, and my issue with it was more that, I mean, let's call it an 8-hour day. It probably wasn't really 8 hours, but in an 8-hour day, if I was learning for 45 minutes of it, that was a good day. And the rest
Yeah.
of it, I was just being held there against my will. So, yeah, I was not interested. I had no interest in doing that. I hated it. I mean, I was not one who acted up either. I sat there and quietly gritted my teeth and did it. But I certainly could have found better things to do with my time.
See, I did. Well, yeah, I did. Never mind. I was bad in class too. See, but my thing is, even as a kid, my biggest thing is respect. You respect me, and I will respect the hell out of you, you know? But it's a two-way street. And half the time, they didn't want to respect you, or they would talk to you like you're some dumb little kid, and it's kind of like, whoa, you know? How am I supposed to learn from someone who's calling me stupid, you know? So I threw a book at her, and I got kicked out. Night school, here I came. But I wouldn't have been so mad at her if I didn't have all the extra bullshit that was going on during the day. See, and that's the thing that most people don't understand. It's not just school. It's not just learning when you go to school. You know, it's all this soap opera shit and drama, and he likes her and she thinks you're looking at him, and this guy doesn't like the pants. I mean, it's a bunch of bullshit on top of learning, you know.
Well, you trap that many people of any age in a situation where they're not allowed to leave and you're not giving them enough interesting shit to do to fill
Yep.
their time, then guess what happens? They become people, and people are horrible creatures.
Big time. Well, and I knew that most of them were going to peak in high school. You know?
Sure.
It's like this. I have other things to do when I get out of here. You know? So I did. I wound up, I got a GED and I got the hell out of there, you know? I really honestly believe, I'm not encouraging anybody to quit school, but I really honestly believe there's kids that school's meant for and there's other kids who it's not, you know. That's why I'm glad now they do a lot of the online learning. Had that have been offered to me in school, I would have ate that shit up. You know, I would have been all over it. I would have been an A student. It would have been perfect, you know, but I was still a good student, but there was just too much bullshit going on that I just didn't want to deal with, you know. And I still don't like people.
Imagine that, you and I sitting here feeding each other on this antisocial behavior stuff. Right.
Yeah, you know.
It's hard to believe, right?
It is, yeah. And to me, I think the people in school was the hardest thing of school instead of the education of it.
Oh, sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm still pretty quick to catch on to things. So school was never a problem for me. You know, the learning end of it, I didn't play well with others. And as a teen, I was angry all the time, you know.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's better options in it. I think if our schools continue to decline the way they are, I don't know how much longer we're going to have school in buildings, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So. But no, I don't really have anything.
Good to hear.
20 minutes later.
See, stupid YouTube videos.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but I do want to say, if we do have any listeners in North Carolina or Tennessee, oh my God.
Georgia or South Carolina or any of the other places, Florida,
Yes.
all the other places that hit.
Wow,
Hurricane
that's
Helene has sucked.
big time. I can't believe some of the pictures that are coming out of this. I just, wow,
It's like
you
some
know.
sort of natural disaster or something.
Yeah. I have a friend who does her craft room. She was sharing pictures online. There's like water halfway up the walls. All of her stuff is in the middle of it. It's like, wow. It's heartbreaking, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely my prayers are with you guys, and fuck, Hopefully you catch a break soon, because I saw tonight, I think there's more rain on the way, so it's like, wow,
And they were also,
think,
last night they were talking about another storm forming just outside the Gulf.
yeah.
That's going to swing back up into the Gulf, and they're like, sorry.
And not too long ago, we were hit with something here where I don't know if they confirmed that it was a tornado that hit here or if it was just hurricane-like winds that hit here. But what made recovery so awful was normally when you have a system like that move over you, it'll dry everything out behind it. So you kind of get a break from the rain and stuff. We didn't. After that happened, we had 5 more days of rain.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening to them right now, too. So it's like, wow, we definitely didn't have it as bad as they do, but I can definitely sympathize because.
Yeah, it basically took a beeline right up the Appalachian Mountains and then hung a hard left and just sat on Tennessee for 4 days.
Yeah.
Until it kind of fell apart on its own. And you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah. And we're talking towns gone.
Mm-hmm.
Just
underwater
splinters.
Now. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And they were showing people on roofs. And, Florida, I think Florida was a little better at listening this time because, I hate when people, here we go about hating people again. When you have a system like this move in and your weatherman is telling you for a week, hey, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad. We can't predict the trajectory yet, but Florida, you're going to get hit. And then people are like, well, I think we're just going to wait it out. Yay. Nothing's ever happened before. And it's like, Jesus Christ, okay,
This shit happened 2 months ago. What are you talking about?
Well, and then you had people on the roof, and it was kind of like, I think when they came by knocking on doors, and this is a fact, and this happened, they knocked on doors, and for people who were staying, they pulled out a black Sharpie marker and told them to write their names, Social Security, and a emergency contact phone number on their arm. Hello? I mean, that right there should have been your other sign. This is about to get bad.
Right. They will not be able to identify the bodies.
Yep.
Straight up. That is what that is for. In case somebody missed that.
And to still stay. I don't understand that. If they came to my house and was like, hey, there's 20-foot wave headed for your house, I'd be like, see ya.
Hey, bye.
I don't know where the fuck I'm going, but bye. Yep. I'm going to take my little animals. I'm going to take my pictures, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. I'm not going to stick around, and wait it out. But I am not downing anybody for who did, because like I said, I don't think Tennessee, North Carolina, I don't think they had a clue of what was going to happen here,
Right.
I know our weatherman definitely didn't. So those are a little bit more heartbreaking and understandable, but a lot of this in Florida, you're kind of like, really? The Sharpie didn't tune you in?
Then the 35 times you've done this in the last 7 years, right?
Yeah. And it seems like all the times that you've seen this on a weather map, you should have seen this one looks a little different. This one looks a little stronger. But I am not going to victim blame. I still pray for those people too. I'm sorry for the tragedy that's happening right now, because we can't get into them until some of this dries out. That's the big problem. People are like, help them. How? They're underwater.
Literally can't.
Yeah, we cannot get in there to them. And the places we have been able to get into, we're there. I think Garland said, I think half our crews right now are headed that way. So, and if Garland's doing that, everybody else around us is doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Garland's doing it because when we needed people to do that, nobody did that for us. So I think we will always be the first to go from now on, you know.
Yep. Again,
Yeah.
give a little to take a little.
Yep. Like I said, my heart definitely breaks. And what sucks even more, places like Florida, you can't insure your home for that. They're like, hell no.
Right. You chose to
know?
live here. You're on your own, pal.
Yeah, you're asking us to
you're asking us to
insure a matchstick.
to replace your house twice a year when the hurricanes come through. No.
Not going to do it. Just like in my area, I can't get flood insurance on my insurance. I live too close.
You live in a floodplain, right?
Yep. Although we've widened the creek and it no longer floods the way it used to for like 20 years now, they're still like, nope, can't do it. Fuckers.
Uh-huh.
But my car's insured now for anything.
Good
Act
choice.
of God, tiny scratch, you know.
Good choice.
Bug fly on my windshield.
You don't need insurance for that part. You can just pay, you can just get the local car wash to take like $20 a month from you. You can drive it up there and get it washed anytime you want.
It's 35, but yeah.
Okay, well whatever.
Wow.
I don't have this service either. My car stays in the garage 300 days a year, so I don't care. But
see, my car's been in the shop for 300 days.
There you go. See, we're like Twinkies.
We are.
Hopefully the sponge cake kind. But anyway.
I'd rather be called a Twinkie than a ho-ho.
Heyo.
Or a ding dong.
Or a ding dong.
So, Les, how's your computer?
I was going to say,
Doing well, thank you.
I made the 20-minute track, and she's like, nah, fuck this. I can push it to half an hour, no problem.
Right, I could do this.
I still got nothing, but I'm not going to stop.
Lace up my shoes.
I'm going to get my hip waders out because, man, is it getting deep in here. Anyway. Okay, well, now that I've said that, I'm just going to take it over. And cut her off. That's what I'm doing. Not really, but she wanted to keep going.
I'm done.
If she wanted to keep going, she'd make it clear. The funny thing is, I don't really have that much either because, as I warned, I got assignments for watching shit, so I'm watching shit that I can't talk about yet. So there's that. There is one thing I will mention, and I may get in trouble for this. We'll see. I know.
Uh-oh.
Could be bad.
Are you going to pull a Tom Holland?
Could be totally bad. I don't think so. Depending on what that means. But no. It's not actually a bad thing. It's just a potentially dangerous thing. So one of the things I do with my spare time is I play mostly specifically a video game, Dungeons and Dragons Online. The deal is the studio that runs that game also runs another game. They run a game called The Lord of the Rings Online, which I have for the last couple of months. I've actually dabbled with it a few times in the past, but never really kind of got hooked.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's a very different game from what I'm used to. It's a much slower paced game. It's a much more story based game. It's fun, but it's one of those things that it's like DDO. It's been around for a long time. I think they celebrated their 17th anniversary this year. So it's a game with a much larger scope than most, because they've been constantly building on it for 17 years. And this time I started dabbling with it again a couple of months ago, and I have been playing decidedly less of the other game, and now I've been playing more of this game, and so um, it's not sucking away the rest of my free time. I'm not like cutting into my TV movie watching time for it or anything, but um, it's an interesting coincidence that I've been getting more into that while there's been stuff available that's Lord of the Rings related in major media. So you
Yeah.
know, it's fun. It's a way to spend some time. It's a way to entertain myself.
That's cool. Is it pay to win or free to play or?
I am playing it free to play right now. You can pay. They do have a monthly subscription, but I haven't run. I haven't. I mean, I'm not that far in. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not that high level or anything, but you can entertain yourself for quite some time without worrying about paying money.
I like games like that.
I mean, most of what you're paying for in a game like that is convenience more
Mhm.
than anything else. I mean, there are also some. I mean, like the most recent content, you end up having to pay for somehow or other. But honestly, you could take years getting to that point, especially if you're as slow as I am at these things, because I'm terrible at video games. I always have been. But that's okay. It's the kind of game that even I can be good at, or maybe someday I will be, because like I said, though I've been dabbling at it for at least 4 years now. I tend to play it for like a month or two and then stop for a year or two. So this is like the third time I've picked it up.
Yeah. And it's D&D?
This is Lord of the Rings
Lord
Online.
of the Rings.
Okay. I missed that. Yep.
Yeah, it's a
I think
story thing. It kind of runs. You're playing. You're making up your own character, and you're kind of running parallel to the stories, to the novels essentially.
Yeah.
You're not right in it. I mean, you do get to you run into some of the characters from the novels occasionally, but it's usually not for very long, and it's usually a hey, go do this thing sort of deal. Go help out over here.
I played that at one time,
Maybe.
but
It's been around a while, so
yeah.
it's still going strong.
Hmm. I'll have to check that out again.
Yeah, that's the part I was scared of, is getting you either into it or back into
Yeah.
it.
See, I played all of the games they released, like on Xbox and stuff, but
Mhm.
then they did the online thing. It was like, I think, like I said, I think I played for a little while. Yeah. I'm trying to remember why I quit. ADD.
Maybe. Entirely possible.
Yeah. Well, usually when I start games like that, there's like I've got a couple of them going, and I gravitate more towards one. So that's
Right.
probably what happened here.
Right. And that's kind of the boat I'm in, is I'm playing these two games at the same time. And so
Yeah.
at this point, one of them is getting a little more attention than the other. And I mean, I'm the weirdo who I play an MMO solo most of the time. So it doesn't
See,
really make that much difference. I can go at my own pace however I do it. So
I would prefer to, but most games are like, hey, you have to join a clan before you can get, and it's like, I hate that. I hate when they force you to play with others.
me too. And I wouldn't play a game like that if I could help it.
Yeah.
Neither of the two games I play are really like. I mean, they do encourage, like the D&D one. DDO does encourage group play, but it's not required in any way. I mean, a lot of
That's
the
cool.
stuff I do is solo. Like I said, probably 90% is solo. And I have literally soloed every single bit of Lotro that I have played. I don't know anybody in that game. So,
That's cool.
yep. That's how I'm wasting my time. when I'm not watching movies for horror month. Or trying to keep up with Rings of Power.
Yeah, we got to get back into that one too. And I need to watch Penguin.
Quack, 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 quack. Doesn't seem like that kind of penguin from the ads I've seen, but the ads I've seen have been on Twitch, and for some reason most of my Twitch ads are in Spanish, so I'm not real sure what that show's about.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not real for sure either. I keep seeing good things, but I haven't really read a lot of it because, spoilers and stuff. But
Right.
And then someone had told me that he will not come back for a season 2 of this.
Well, given how little he looks like Colin Farrell in the TV spots I've seen, I imagine there's a lot of time spent in a makeup chair, which...
Yeah, that's why.
Not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure all that was necessary, to be honest, but whatever. What do I know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, wow. I think it will definitely walk away with some awards just for what they did to him,
The person that told you that was me last week.
Okay. I thought it was, but yeah, I watch all of those makeup shows and special effects and stuff, and
and it's not just the show. Remember, he did the movie too.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a prolonged period of time that he's been doing the makeup and all that. So
Yeah.
I get that.
He has sat in that chair for many hours, many times at this point.
Yes.
So you kind of feel for him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and that's like Tim Curry. He said the same thing about it, and it's like completely understandable, dude. I get that, It's a lot of makeup.
Right, and he was in Legend, so he should know.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think he did them like one right after another too, and that's when he was like, "No, I don't want to do that anymore."
Right? Can't I wear street clothes for a couple of movies here? Jeez.
Can't I look normal? And then I think they gave him Clue, so.
So there you go. He got what he
There
needed.
you go. Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. Les?
Well, let's see. I did not watch Liz's shows from the Hallmark Channel, but I did watch the Matt Helm movies on Tubi. It's kind of fun to look back, and you know how goofy they are, but still, it's an amusing kind of humor, and the way they presented it was pretty top notch as far as I can see. As usual, Dean Martin played himself, essentially, nothing new and grand to be writing home about. But you look at the idea of the co-stars, which were really amazing and I'm not just talking the women, I'm looking at all the males they had in this too, and it was fun. So unfortunately, it's about to expire on Tubi.
Yeah, it'll
But
be back.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Just wait for it, because it is some fun stuff.
Yeah, there are some titles that just basically cycle in and out of the rotation, and
Yeah.
it's fine. You get used to it. And those have been on my watch list for a while. I just haven't gotten to them yet. I did see them on there.
And I was disappointed when I was looking for the fourth movie of the run, but it was never made. This was the one after the Wrecking Crew. And the reason it wasn't done, one of the reasons it wasn't done, and it was not because the studio didn't want to make it anymore. It was because of the passing of Sharon Tate. She was in the movie with Dean Martin, played his assistant in the Wrecking Crew. And they were pretty devastated by her passing. Because it's like 6 months after they had released the movie that she had passed away. So it was pretty new to their minds at that time. But like I say, if you get the chance to see them, it's fun to take in. Oh, and I also watched a series on Tubi about Roger Corman. I don't know if anybody has talked about this before, but it is called Cult-Tastic. And it's interviews with Roger Corman and his wife about the movies that he made. And it's kind of fun. You get to hear the backstories of what was going on, and it's astounding how many people that Corman helped get in the business. So it's a 13-part series, and it is well worth the time to slow down for.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen a couple of documentaries about him, but I'm not sure. I don't think that was one of them. Sounds like that's a lot more in depth than what I've seen. So cool.
It really is, because he talks about the outlaw or the outsiders. He talks about the women. He talks about the comedies that he done and all sorts of stuff.
Interesting.
Pretty neat. Okay, well, for me, in addition to working on the films that we'll be discussing this month, I'm trying to catch up on that. I have spent a lot of time on YouTube. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this a little bit last week, but I've been kind of going down the rabbit hole of bodycam videos. There's some of them that I think I may have mentioned this last week. I don't remember at this point. There's some of them that I try to stay away from. Anything involving sovereign citizens. I can't.
Yeah.
I just, and it's funny because my sister watches some of those, and I just like, I can't. I'll get too easily upset at all of that. I just, it's best for me not to. I'd rather tolerate watching someone who's drunk off their ass making an ass of himself. I can tolerate that. It's like, well, yeah, they're drunk. Okay, it's stupid for them to be drunk, but you can kind of blow it off but the other thing, no. So,
It's good to know your limits.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, why? If I know it's going to agitate me, why the hell should I watch it?
Exactly.
There was one that I watched, and it's kind of sad, but apparently it made some news, because others have like kind of reacted to it, including one being a lawyer. It refers to a third grade teacher in Oklahoma. This was the first day of school of the last year, so we're talking August of 2023. She was called into the principal's office, and they were talking to her because they were concerned how her demeanor had changed during the day. And she after being caught after lie, she finally admitted that she has an issue with drinking, and she's been seeing a counselor and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's kind of sad to watch this, because she's like, call somebody to take you home, and then come back tomorrow, and we'll discuss your future, which you're not going to have a future, but you're going to be fired or you're going to resign, one or the other. Well, she didn't want someone to call her, and she didn't want to be picked up for DUI because there was the school. I guess it was the school resource officer. They didn't really make any kind of. They didn't say, but that's the only thing that made sense since he was already there. She blew the little thing, and she was at .248.
Whoa!
Dang.
And she claims that she had not had anything to drink since 3:00 that morning, and this was 3:30 in the afternoon.
That's not possible.
Yeah, that's what they were saying too. So she was eventually placed under arrest and taken in, and that's pretty much how that video ends. The sad thing is there's another video of her going to court for these charges. And this was like in November of last year. And she never made it because she was drunk then, so she got arrested.
Jesus Christ.
Get arrested for drunk driving on the way to your drunk driving trial. That's...
Yeah.
Ouch. That's when you should probably figure out that you have a problem.
Well, she knew she had a problem, but she just...
She didn't accept it.
She obviously didn't accept it, yeah.
That was just that one time,
Uh-huh.
Crazy.
And all the other one times.
Yeah.
Well, because, I mean...
Well, one time she got caught,
Right.
Right. Well, because, they were saying, okay, who do you want to call to come pick you up? Well, look at my phone. My phone's in the classroom. So the superintendent who's holding all this goes into the classroom, gets the phone, sees there's a cup there, brings in the cup, says, okay, what is this? And she says, well, that was my juice cup. And he turns around and gives the officer and says, and he takes a sniff and he says, you want to try that again? It was wine. That's all she drinks is wine.
You get that plowed off of wine,
I mean,
you got to be peeing a lot. I'm just saying.
Technically, wine is fruit juice.
Well,
technically, it's juice.
It's been fermented, but it is fruit juice.
Well, she admitted that she because the officer asked her, like, how much did you drink the night before. How many bottles of wine did you go? Well, I didn't. I don't drink bottles of wine. A box. Okay, well, how much did you drink? Half a box.
That's better. That's like 3 bottles, you know.
Half a box, she said.
Can you imagine how great that wine tastes coming out of a box?
I'm still wondering if it's the box, if what she's talking about is the box that all those bottles come in.
No, they
I only
have
drank half a case of wine.
they have the box with the bladder in it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, I
was
know.
like, it's like 2 gallons of wine, though.
It can be, yeah. Some of the bigger boxes are, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
But
put a nipple on it, you know.
But
give them any ideas.
But get this. I forgot the reason why the superintendent left the office. He did, and then the officer had to leave the room because he was making a call. And the video cuts, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's a little bit of a jump, and then there's no audio there for a second, and he hits his button on the body camera, and all of a sudden she's under arrest. And come to find out, you find out pretty damn quick, while he left that room for like a couple of minutes or so, she took the cup and she wiped it out.
Huh.
Of course she did.
She took off her clothes? Is that what you said?
No, she polished off the cup.
No, I'm saying...
She took the cup.
No, I know what you said there, but I thought you had said that he came back and she had her clothes off.
No, that must have been the other conversation you were listening to.
I must have been listening to Liz's Hallmark story.
Yeah, it could be.
My little voices inside my head speaking out loud again.
Hey,
I think y'all could hear it too.
If we're going to tell you not to listen to the voices in your head, Les, we're damn sure going to tell you not to listen to voices in Liz's head.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's deadly.
but it's really sad to watch this. But it's just like,
yeah.
That's brutal.
So that was like first day of school and jeez. And at that point, you can't even say it's because the kids get to me.
Right. Yeah,
well,
no, this has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's bad.
It's rough.
It is.
Pretty sad.
Especially seeing that she drove there and was going to drive home and, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, God knows she probably drank and drive the school and back.
That's where she had her juice.
To. Right.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
Not fun.
Not at all.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take a quick break before we get into this week's discussion. And we're back. It is October, and if you're a long-time listener to the show, you know that we usually do Horror Month for October, just like a lot of other podcasts do.
Dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So, our theme for this year is Jack the Ripper. All the films are going to be somehow related to Jack the Ripper. And for today, we are discussing. This is a 1927 silent film, The Lodger. Yeah. This was actually directed by Alfred Hitchcock.
It was.
which I did not know until I put this all together, and I was like, oh, okay.
Pretty cool. Fairly early one from him.
Mm-hmm.
Not his
So
first, but pretty early.
No. So let's talk a little Lodger.
Oh man. I tried so many times to watch this one.
I wondered.
Yeah, I mean, I can do black and white. I love black and white, but I was sitting there for probably the first 10 minutes, and I was thinking, are they going to say something? I mean, all it was saying was like golden curls or something like that, and it was like they've got to say something, right? And then it had that nice tone of sepia. So yeah.
Not into silent movies, huh? I wondered.
I'm not. I like comedy, silent. Like Charlie Chaplin. I think Laurel and Hardy did some. Yeah. I don't know. I just no, not my cup of tea. It seemed like it had an interesting plot, but yeah.
Based on a novel.
Yeah.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. And there's actually a stage play too. Not unlike Dracula. But yeah.
I did not know that.
Yep. I have wondered that about you for a while. So I was really curious when we finally got a silent movie on the list, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna be fun to see. And I don't mean it in a mean way or anything, but
No.
I mean, a lot of times it's an attention span thing. I mean, I can sit
It
there
is.
and just stare at the screen for however long it takes. Not everybody can do that, and
No.
you really kind of have to be looking because
Yeah,
you get
you
no
can't miss
audio
anything.
cues at all. Right? There's no audio cues at all. And honestly, I was the copy that I watched, I was kind of underwhelmed by the music.
Yeah.
I thought the music was just a little off. It was jarring. I ended up muting a lot of it.
I know this is showing on Prime, and I tried watching it on HBO, and HBO says it's been like remastered and digital, and I thought, well, that'll be cool, 1927, and it never clicked in my mind, being that old of a film, that it might be silent film.
Yeah, you didn't really get full-length sound features until 29, so.
Yeah.
Yep. But if you don't necessarily know that off the top of your head, like weirdos like me,
Right.
I could see you not foreseeing that. That's fine.
Like I said, at least good 10 minutes, it was like, yeah. Is this turned up? Yeah, I can hear the music.
Such as it is.
And then they did the dialogue, and it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you get dialogue cards.
Yeah. And like I said, I tried to follow along, but the tone that it's in, and then, of course, you have the lights off because you're watching a movie and everything else. It just kind of created that perfect atmosphere to take
Put
a
you
nap.
to sleep, right? See, this is part of why I don't watch movies in the dark. Yeah, but that's just me. Not criticizing.
Well, some movies you have to.
Some movies it helps for sure.
Yeah,
I'll give you
like
that.
the new Rings of Power. There's parts of that, even being a newer, state-of-the-art show like it is and everything else, that if you don't have the lights off, you can't see what's going on.
There's some dark scenes, yeah. I mean,
It's just,
especially like, not to get too spoilery, but yeah, when the lights go out in Moria, in Khazad-dûm,
yeah,
it gets dark on the screen
very
because it's dark in there, and it makes sense. But yeah, it's also
Well,
hard
then
to pick things
when
out.
it was light in there, everything was gray.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
like, yeah. So yeah, Some
But yeah.
movies are just like that. You have to turn the lights off.
Mhm.
And then I also hate the movies where they talk real soft like this, and then the music comes along, and then you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Can't you level this out somehow? Because you have to turn it up to hear them. Crank it almost.
3/4 of the time, that's on purpose.
I hate that.
I'm not a fan either, but
Yeah.
more often than not, it is on purpose that they do that, and it's irritating.
Yeah, and it comes off as bad quality, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times it does.
Yeah.
A lot of times
And
it does.
see, and I even have a TV set that does the leveling, or it's supposed to.
Right.
But some shows like that, it just don't pick it up,
Mhm.
So it's like, I don't know. But yeah, this one, like I said, I even looked through the list and I didn't really recognize a lot of the actors or anything else either. So maybe a combination of that and the other things.
It's a UK movie, so you're not going to get the Hollywood people that you're used to seeing.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I'm kind of familiar, but not real familiar from like 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Because you don't watch a lot of those, and that's fine.
I don't, yeah. Bad B film in that time, I've probably seen it, but
There are some of those in the 30s and 40s, but yeah.
if it has dialogue,
They do. Yeah. All right, so she's putting the onus on us this time.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I actually really like this movie. Like I said, I never hold, and on a silent film, I never hold the music against anybody because that shit's added after, and I did not like what they did with this one. So I just, like I said, I just hit the mute button and watched the movie. Didn't bother me at all to do that.
You didn't miss anything.
Nope, I didn't. In fact, it probably improved it for me.
Right.
And you mentioned the dialogue cards. I actually thought that for the length this movie was and for the amount of story they were trying to convey, I actually would have liked to have seen a few more dialogue cards. I would have liked to have seen a little more in that regard. I mean, I'm not sure it was necessary. Don't get me wrong. I think this movie does a great job of getting the story across with what it had. I think they could have added some touches here and there, and I am not in any way sitting here criticizing Alfred Hitchcock. Don't get me wrong, but it would have been it wouldn't have bothered me at all to see just a tiny bit more story added, a little more dialogue here and there. It wasn't necessary, but it would have been cool. But I thought it was really well acted for a silent film. The guy who played the lodger himself, he was good. He was really good. And I mean, I don't think there was a bad performance in the cast. It was really nice. It was just just the right amount of creepy going on. The sign thing was an interesting touch, especially when that showed up at the end. I don't know how. That was one of those things that was almost subtle enough to not pick up, but that was a cool touch, I thought. And the way it ended will be interesting to discuss later, but that'll be later. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I liked it.
Cool.
I thought, let me start with this. Thomas, thank you for finding this. This was fun to watch. I agree with Mike on a lot of different things. In this movie, I think it was well acted. Thought the script was really well done. It did not lose much of anything in it. So I agree that this is more to the liking than some movies we've seen before. But I do have one thing that I wish they would have done, and something that Hitchcock did much in his other movies, and that was let you know the killer, the Avenger. Sorry, I'm going to overstep, but not introducing the Avenger in this movie to me was a shortcoming. To me, it would have been better if they would have mentioned him or shown him or something of that nature to let the audience know that this was the guy that caused all the problems. And because of that, I didn't have a problem with the movie at all. Thought it was fun. But to me, it would have been nicer because in his following movies, you knew who the bad guy was, although it may not be right there at the first of the movie, or, it's later decided who the bad guy is. But like I said, Thomas, thank you for finding this one, because this was fun to watch.
Cool.
No doubt about it.
Glad you liked it.
See, I agree with the point you're making about the killer, but there is one catch. I mean, I have not read the book, so I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I didn't even think to look. Do they actually call the killer Jack the Ripper in the book?
I haven't read the book, but I doubt that they did.
See, the catch that I have with this is that they never caught Jack the Ripper. So if this story really is based on that, that's a good reason why they wouldn't have shown the killer. I agree that they could have done it a little differently, given that they called him the Avenger instead of Jack the Ripper. So they could have done that, but that's my I can see why point, is because it's based on the Ripper murders, and they didn't catch the Ripper, so that could be why they didn't do it here.
Okay.
For me, yeah, I agree about the acting and how well written it was. I don't normally watch silent films, so I get where Liz is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have a tougher time watching this.
So what he did to you, Liz, he did to himself too.
Well, I mean, I've seen a couple. So I mean,
sure. There's some that everybody should see. I mean,
yeah,
whether they like silent movies or not, and there's some that people who don't like silent movies will still like.
Right.
True.
I'm not sure why I had such difficulties with this, but that it's me. It's nothing to do with the film itself. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So
probably was a good movie,
Like I said, try it again, but mute it.
Yeah,
It might make a
I'll have to
difference.
do that because
It might make a difference.
I'm with you. The music was kind of.
It was just weird at times. It just didn't match the mood at all.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer because it really can mess things up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll see if that helps. I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you just sometimes run into with those things, because they always feel like because I mean, honestly, when they showed it in the theater, there was probably an orchestra in the pit in front of the screen playing music, and so I mean it's part of the experience. It's just the catch is that it's not always going to match what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I do like silent movies quite a bit, so I've watched quite a few of them, and I thought this was a pretty good one. I would recommend it.
Oh, I do too.
And we've talked about the acting and the performances. Something, if you're not used to watching silent movies, something you have to keep in mind is that since there's no sound, generally speaking, good acting in a silent movie looks like overacting. I mean, they just have to over emote because because you don't have all you have is the visual. There's
Right.
there's nothing else there's no other way to hint to people how you're supposed to be, how you're projecting, what emotions you're projecting. It's just not there. And so, I mean, you get a lot of, when people are scared, they're like physically shaking. And like they're doing it really obviously, and I mean that's one of the reasons I say this movie had really good performances is because there's some of that, but it's really only where it's necessary. I mean, you get the eyes bugging out, looking around when people are kind of freaking out or whatever, or when like the main character, the lodger, is like obviously he should be scared that they're getting ready to pin something on him or they're getting ready to figure something out or they're making some comments that are making him uncomfortable, and he has to make that really obvious visually, and he does a really nice job of balancing that. I mean, he's that guy, the character is pretty high strung just in general, so he's acting high strung, and he's doing it a lot to his credit. I mean, he's kind of the main character. He's in this movie a lot, and he's doing that most of the time. And so, I mean, and it turns out, because we spoil movies, and if you haven't watched this almost 100-year-old movie by now, I mean, what are we gonna do? I don't know what to do at that point.
That's your spoiler alert.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's just that. He's just high strung. He's been through some stuff, and I mean, there's what today we would call some PTSD, you know. Turns out he's not a bad guy or anything. He's just a little high strung, and things happen, and he gets kind of calmed down by the end, and it's fine. It's cool. He's in a relationship that helps him be more relaxed, and it's good. And yeah, the cop. We've talked about this before. You know, an actor is doing a good job when he's playing an unlikable character well. And the cop is just, I thought he was really unlikable. So credit to the actor for acting that out and doing that well, because I mean, he's just a little bit of a sleazeball. That's all I'm saying. just a little pushy and a little cocky, and
He was starting at the first of the movie.
mm-hmm.
He was kind of forcing himself upon the heroine.
It sure seemed that way to me. Yeah, he was right up in her face as often as he could be, and that's even with her parents in the room. I mean, talk about scandalous! Holy cow!
At that time, yes.
Seriously. Yep, and he continued to rub me the wrong way the whole time. Until the very end, when he finally realized, okay, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Even that, I think he didn't handle all. I was going to say he didn't handle it well. The actor handled it really well. The character did not take it well, but you know, that's how that goes.
Yep.
And it was funny. I was telling my wife that I was watching these movies, and and she made a face. And I was like, oh, they're not gory or anything. Jeez, this is from 1927. There's no gore in this movie. She's like, oh, okay.
Not that kind of movie.
There's no gore. You can get, if I remember, I think there was one. I mean, technically, you sort of get to see the murder. It's at least the camera turns away from what you know is happening, sort of thing. Which was a nice touch and probably pretty forward for 1927. I mean, the fact that they weren't calling Jack the Ripper in this movie is probably also telling. I mean, it wasn't exactly a recent crime, but it also, people were still alive that remembered it.
Yeah.
So I imagine they wanted to be careful. Even Hitchcock, who liked to push buttons.
Yeah. Well, Mike and I would recommend it. What about you two?
Don't watch it in the dark.
Not because it's scary, mind you.
Yeah, no.
Just because it's actually kind of hard to watch in the dark.
Yeah.
The light, it is a heavy sepia for some reason. I don't think it needed to be, but it might have had something to do with the preservation process. Because the film actually does look like it's in pretty good shape too.
Yeah.
I don't remember there being any major screwiness in the film stock itself. Right. It looked pretty nice. It was well done. It was a heavy sepia though.
Very.
But when it switched over to the blue, I thought that was a nice
Switch
touch.
to blue?
You didn't get far enough.
I
Not for very long
either.
either. It was certain
Yeah.
scenes. It was certain
Okay.
scenes. It wasn't the whole. It wasn't like an all the way switch over. But yeah, it did. It did change up some. A few times.
Now she wants to watch it, so I can see the blue scenes.
Oh, I don't know that she really wants to watch it again, but
No, I know.
she might. I don't know, but we've got other movies to watch first. She can put that on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, they agreed too readily for that one.
A little bit. Hey, not every movie's for everybody. It's cool.
Right.
No,
Yep.
that's true.
It's actually pretty hard. Historically speaking, we have to work pretty hard to find a movie that Liz doesn't like.
Yeah.
And we just happened to do it this week.
Because I like a lot of crap.
Uh-huh.
Especially horror. Right up my alley,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was actually thinking, man, I need to find another silent movie to recommend for Liz. You saying horror made The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari pop into my head. You should watch that.
Oh, yeah.
That is
What is it called?
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Or Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is also a good one.
See, I think I've seen Nosferatu.
That I can believe.
Probably not the original.
The
There was a remake.
black and white?
There was a remake in the 70s with Klaus Kinski, which is actually also not bad. It's not quite the same, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
The original's better.
Klaus Kinski. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a name I hadn't thought of in a while.
The only place where that shows the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari
Caligari.
is on Zumo.
That was a Zumo.
That's what I'm saying. XUMO Play. Zumo Play.
Huh.
Says it's free.
Yeah, it's a streaming. I don't know that much about it, but I've heard of it. I've heard a little bit about it.
Okay, cool.
Kind of reminds me of a Tubi in a way.
Hopefully.
Wasn't Phantom of the Opera a silent one too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 25.
Yeah.
So yeah, the original. Well, even those movies are often not the original.
Yeah.
You can find something in the 20s. You can almost always you can't always find the actual film, but you can find that there was a version done in the teens, almost universally. So I don't think that was the first Phantom of the Opera, but yeah, it is definitely one. It's a good example of early horror.
And there was a fine actor right there.
Lon Chaney Sr.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And the biography movie they did about him was good too, with James Cagney.
Oh, cool. But yeah, with Caligari, not only will you get a good sample of silent horror, you also get a pretty good sample of the German Expressionist school of filmmaking back then.
Hmm. So I have it bookmarked.
Good.
Yeah, I like The Lodger. It is a checker-outer.
Did he redo that?
What I saw said no. He talked about it at one point and then apparently couldn't get the rights back from the studio somehow. I don't know. I didn't see details, but he wanted to redo it like in the 40s and then couldn't. It has been remade a couple of times, just not by him.
Would have been fun for a version that he redid. Because that wouldn't be the first time that he's redone a movie.
Right.
He did the 39 Steps. He did The Man Who Knew Too Much. Several movies.
Yep. Always the perfectionist, that guy. Trying to do it better. Or at least trying to do it with a bigger budget.
Okay, cool. Any final thoughts as we wrap things up? Obviously, check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, please.
Yep.
Let us know what you think.
Alrighty, on that note, we are going to take another break and then be back with Geek News for you. And we're back. It's time for Geek News for you. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. This week, it's Liz and myself. And Liz, would you go first, please?
Sure. I think this has been one of my news items previously. If not, I think we definitely have talked about this. But Inside Out 2 has finally hit streaming service. I think it was last Thursday, to be exact. Last Thursday, it finally hit Disney Plus. Now, I have a grandbaby who absolutely loves this movie. We've been waiting for it to come out on streaming. Before it came out on streaming, though, so mind you, what I'm about to tell you guys about is not going to include this time period between the theater and streaming. They had it on video on demand. Now, video on demand, you could have watched this movie for $30. Now that it's out on streaming, you can buy it for $20. Make that make sense. I mean, yeah, I don't get that. Why not have it, for $20? But
some people just don't want to wait.
Right. But I don't think they've included the video on demand. I don't think that's included in the figures I'm about to talk about. Now, right out of the gate, this movie made domestically and internationally made about $1 billion, which makes it the #1 animated film of all time. Which, fucking crazy.
Wait, it passed Avatar?
Well, animated. Yeah.
Well.
And yeah. Yeah.
So I guess the wooden characters didn't really. Never mind.
Yeah. What I was surprised about was this beat out Frozen. Frozen wound up making now worldwide box office. It almost made $2 billion. So, but yeah, Inside Out 2. So it made $1 billion at the movie theater. Now it's hit streaming, and they said in 5 days, 31 million people have streamed this movie to watch it
That
in
seems like a
5
lot.
days. That's a whole lot of people watching this. Yep, it drew 30.5 million views worldwide, being the number one film premiere year to date. Now, not only is it the number one film premiere at the movies, it's now the number one film to premiere for streaming also, which is freaking crazy, right?
Was it good?
See, and that's what I was about to say. Now, I watched the first one. I have not seen the second one yet
Okay.
because Leanne's watching it with her parents, that kind of thing. And once that dies down, we'll watch it. But I watched the first one, and it was okay. I mean, it's Pixar. It was okay. You know, it has the general tug at your heart, make you cry, and part of it, and everything else. But making a part 2, when I heard a part 2 coming out, it was kind of like, really? You know, there's a good story there. I just didn't think there was enough to make a part 2 of that story there. But what they wound up doing was they took the original people and they added new anxieties and fears and that kind of thing because she grew up. So I think the way they handled this was a pretty good way to do it, because it's not just the same thing over again, but it's also getting the kids who did watch the first one at that age group now where they've moved up to where Riley is, and which is the little girl in the film, where she is, and maybe experiencing some of the same emotions that she's having that they've never experienced before. So I think it's helping kids kind of understand themselves, but it's also entertaining. So, you know, I thought it was pretty cool to be dealing with emotions and make this much money and beat out Frozen. I mean, I didn't think she would ever be dethroned, but I was looking at a list because, you know, after reading this article and stuff, I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Frozen is actually number 4. As of now, the top 5 animated movies, you know, premiering worldwide, from the worldwide box office, of course, now is Inside Out 2, Frozen 2, Super Mario Brothers the movie, Frozen, and Incredibles 2. That's the top 5 animated. So all of the other movies like Toy Story and Zootopia and The Lion King, this movie is beating them out, which, what? To me, it just seems unreal. This shouldn't be happening. You know, I'm glad it's happening, but there's just been so many other good ones that were put out that this should not be happening, you know?
Well, there's 2 factors that you want to think about right off the bat. One is population. There are literally more people in the world today than there were 20 years ago when The Lion King came out.
True.
Or 30. I don't even remember what year it came out. And accessibility. More people can get hold of these movies now than ever could before, mainly through streaming.
Yeah. Well, before streaming, though, this movie made $1.7 billion at the box office, almost $2 billion at the box office.
Yeah, and they charge more for tickets now too. But anyway.
Yeah, but we're talking. This is beating out like superhero movies and stuff. What superhero movie has made $2 billion at the box office recently?
Endgame.
That was before pandemic, though. So after
That
pandemic,
was literally only 5 years ago. We talked about it like a month ago.
right? Yeah, but how much did Endgame wind up making?
Like $2 billion.
Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Because I thought they said that Joker wound up beating them out too,
I
though.
don't know.
Oh, dang! They made 2.8 billion. Wow, I
Yeah,
didn't
the
know
first
that.
$3 billion movie is coming soon, whatever it is.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's right up there with superhero movies, though.
Mhm.
So, kind of crazy. But if you guys are curious, I will post the list to where these animated movies, the list, on this list, it lists the top 100 animated movies. So I'll post that on our Discord so you
Cool.
guys can I found it interesting. Like I said, some of the things that I thought did better actually didn't. So, like Toy Story 4 being number 7, what the hell?
Where was Up?
Up is actually 28 on the list. It made 731 million at the box office globally. That surprises me. See, and I'm wondering now if they'll ever release the streaming numbers on these, because you also have what was it, Encanto? Is that even on the list? Encanto was released during the pandemic, which is probably, I can't remember if that's Pixar or Disney though, but it was either one. It's probably the better animated movie that's come out of either one of them in a very, very long time. But since it was released during the pandemic, it was only released streaming. So how do you put a movie like that on this list? Because it was never given a chance at the box office.
Yeah, it all depends on how you're calculating the streaming revenue,
Yeah.
which I don't know anyway. I can't say we don't know, but I don't know.
See, and I thought after the strike they were supposed to start releasing that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Yeah. Because that was part of the complaint too, was people have no idea what's being watched. Netflix can show you the top 10, but who really says that's the top 10?
Right.
You
Why
know?
is it the top 10?
Yep.
What,
How many people are
what
watching
are the
it?
numbers? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. See, I just noticed that Encanto is not on this list. So this isn't a complete list because, like I said, I think that one would be right up there with Frozen at least, in the top 5.
Well, but be careful because the list isn't about how good the movie is. It's about how much money it made.
Well, I'm saying as far as not just being good, but all of the merchandise that was put out after it was released to streaming and the popularity it caught on with the kids, kind of like Frozen did. But
Sure, but
yeah,
it did that during a time when they really didn't know how they were going to count that. And so,
yeah.
I mean, how are they going to go back and figure that out now? And are they going to bother? Who
Well,
knows?
I had heard that they're talking about giving it a theatrical release. Now, it's not going to give you true numbers. A lot of the kids who would have went to the movies and watched this now own the movie and the sing along and the shorts and everything else they put out
And
with
unless
it.
they have an
But
adult figure in their lives who want them to have the cinema experience,
right,
they're
well,
probably
you'll
not
still
going to go.
have that.
Right.
Because usually also, when you go to the movies, there's usually one kids movie always playing,
Sure.
So
Because they're no dummies.
right. But it'll definitely do well, but I don't think it'll do as well as if it would have went, theatrical first. And we're talking years after its release of giving it a theatrical release too.
Right. That can be a mixed bag.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the popularity's gone.
Mhm.
The kids have moved on to Inside Out too.
Yep.
So, you gotta, especially with kids and attention span, you gotta hit it when it's hot. And I feel like they missed that window. But yeah, the first Inside Out movie didn't even hit $1 billion, and it's number 21 on this list. So maybe it's a better story. I don't know. But yeah, definitely interesting. And like I said, we don't normally see this at kids shows. So props to them, you know?
Yep. Kids are still a market, whether they
Yep.
want to believe so or not.
And isn't it Pixar or is it Disney? I want to say it's Pixar. I closed that window out. But either way, if it was Disney or if it's Pixar, they both need a win right now because the last couple of things that they have put out, it's just been crap.
Damn.
I mean, as a Mimi, that's my opinion. Okay, it's Disney and Pixar, so it's both of them. So yeah, they needed this win. I you know, when you have so many that hit and miss, they tend to kind of back off on it. So hopefully this will open the door to some more good movies and, you know,
Yep.
light a fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I'll post that on our Discord.
Cool.
Alrighty. For my news item, I don't remember hearing anything about this before, but apparently it had been mentioned back in 2017. But at the recent Tampa Bay Comic Convention, Dan DiDio was a guest and was talking about the fact that one of the things he was talking about was that he actually nixed a DC Star Wars crossover.
Does he hate money? What the hell?
Well, according to him, he said he just said it wasn't worth it because apparently there was fighting over. First off, there was money, and then there was also what you could and could not do. Quote, who gets the better shot and who gets the hero moment.
Who's the star?
It wasn't a question of money. It was a question of creative control.
Yeah.
That actually kind of makes sense. I mean, not really, but it sort of makes sense.
So, and apparently this was going to be done by Kirk Music with art by Alex Ross.
Ooh.
Damn.
And
What a
actually,
shame.
and some of the it says that some of the concept art had been released. And what the one it mentions, and I remember seeing this a while back, and I was like, okay, that seems interesting, was the Superman versus Vader, where it looks like Superman's grabbing Vader's lightsaber blade, which I always question. It's a great image, of course, because it's Alex Ross, but it's just like he shouldn't be able to do that. But okay.
Well, not for very long, anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So.
I mean, you could for a second before it cut your hand off. I can hold it for a second.
So, I just don't remember hearing about this before, but you guys might remember when Marvel got the rights to Star Wars again. I was making jokes about a Star Wars Avengers crossover. That I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And surprised that we have not got that yet.
I'm not, and probably for the same reason.
Give
Well-
Disney time.
Well, because, there's history, because Marvel did it when they got the Star Trek license back in, the 80s, or, not the 80s, the 90s or 2000s. They did a Star Trek X-Men crossover.
Well, and there's been
And-
Star Trek. Well, now there's been am I remembering wrong? Was there a Star Trek Green Lantern thing
Yes.
not that long ago? In the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that time frame, yeah. Well, there was also Green Lantern in Planet of the Apes, if I'm not mistaken. And Star Trek.
So that's where Guy
and the
Gardner
Ants.
comes from. All right, that makes sense now.
Mm-hmm. Ba-dum-bum. So, but this surprised me. That there was actually, there looked like there was a little bit of a movement on this until Dio says, yeah.
Right, there was an actual discussion.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is pretty cool.
I think it would have been fun to see.
It would have.
Hmm.
So, alrighty. Any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
No, don't think so.
No.
Not for me.
Okay. We'll move on to the regular shout-outs. First off, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture for allowing us to be part of a great podcast network. Definitely check them out. There will be a link in the show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who've been kind enough to spread the word of the Fellowship on Twitter by retweeting our links, and that is Podern Family. Best way to check them out is to do a search, hashtag Podern Family, all one word. Scroll through, whatever catches your eye. By all means, click on that link and download the episode, and we hope you have a great time listening to them. Want to thank Manny the Martyr for supplying the music to the podcast. In our show notes, there'll be a link to where you can listen to some of their other music. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any comments, questions, complaints, observations, what have you, please send them our way. Email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there is a contact form that you can fill out there. Liz did mention we have a Discord that's free for y'all to join. We do have an open invitation on our homepage. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, stuff to laugh at, a lot of good stuff there. So come join us if you'd like to, if you want to hang out with us. Social media, we're on Facebook, The Fellowship of the Geeks. On Instagram and Twitter, we're at Fellowship Geeks. If you like to follow our personal Twitter account, Mike can be found at Mikey Geek. Liz can be found at LN_Geek. Les may or may not be found at Fake Les Webster. And I can be found at Tom TC Geek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate you listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook at The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter at Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,